It's hurtling towards us. It's going about 180,000 miles an hour.
Oh, good. You did a deep dive, too.
It is a monstrosity. An interstellar object known as 3I Atlas.
I've done a lot of deep dives on this.
You've diving so deep. It's amazing you can come up for air at this point.
It is the size of Manhattan. It is 3 miles long, and it is in our solar system. But what is it?
Joining us right now, he is the Frank B. Baird Jr. Professor of Science at Harvard University, and the man who is out front on 3I Atlas, Professor Avi Loeb. Professor Loeb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Great pleasure. Now, I do want to warn you, I did go to the Harvard of Arizona, University of Arizona, so I think I can understand the level he's talking at. No, please dumb it down for us as we talk about this.
It's a very good university.
Thank you.
All right, listen, you're my favorite scientist because you're on top of this thing. I've watched you in a lot of different interviews, so let's hit this thing.
Okay.
What makes you so certain that this object could be alien, and does it have windows?
Oh, I'm not I'm not certain at all. And the point is that in science, as I often say, you have to have the humility to learn rather than the arrogance of expertise.
Ooh.
And what that means is that we need to pay attention to collect data and figure it out rather than assume that it's the same as the icy rocks that we have seen in our backyard for many years. And what's special about this one, well, it came in a trajectory that is aligned with the planets in the same plane, which is surprising. You know, it's a chance of 1 in 500. Also, it's very big. It's 1 million times more massive than the first one. And it has all kinds of peculiar features. Most recently, it passed close to the sun 2 weeks ago, on October 29th.
And, it went behind the sun, right?
Yeah, and we were on the opposite side. The sun was between us and this object, perhaps for a reason, because that's the time when it comes closest to the sun for it to do a maneuver or to release some probes that will visit the planets. And indeed, it deviated from its path. There was a maneuver that we noticed. But this could be just as a result of the vaporization of some pockets of ice on the surface by the sun. We see more than 7 jets around it, and they extend out to 1 million kilometers away from it.
1 million kilometers.
Yeah, 1 million kilometers.
So this thing does not act like a comet, and that's why you have looked into this like you have, correct?
Right, and the fundamental question is whether it's technological, whether this trajectory was designed for a reconnaissance mission, whether these multiple jets that are tightly collimated, were generated by some thrusters that it has. We saw also nickel with very little iron coming off it, and that's usually what we find in industrially produced nickel alloys. And so the fundamental, of course, all the comet experts would argue it's a comet because they are just like AI systems. They are saying things based on the training data set. And their training data set is icy rocks, comets that they're familiar with. And they would say anything in the sky is a comet. There was a near-Earth object, an object that came close to Earth on January 2nd, and they declared it as an asteroid, a rock, until they realized this one actually moves along the path of the Tesla Roadster car that was launched by SpaceX. So then they say, sorry, it's not a rock, it's a car. But it's very difficult when you see a point of light, or even if it's shedding some mass, it's very difficult to say what's inside of it, I
have a question for you, Professor Loeb. As 3I Atlas has come around from behind the sun, and there's this big long name of what that's called, starts with a P. Is it that's the word? Is it breaking up? Do we believe that it is in some way, shape, or form? Parts are coming off of it, or it's breaking up?
No. So as we got an image yesterday that showed that it's still single. It's just a single object.
Okay.
And to me, it was a surprise because in these jets, I estimated how much mass is flowing out in these jets, and it must be powered by the sunlight. and then you calculate the surface area of the object, it's too large compared to what we expected the object to be. It's like twice the size of Manhattan Island or more.
Twice the size.
And so then the only possibility that I imagined is maybe it broke up, and therefore you have much more surface area because you have all these fragments adding up. But turns out that it looks like a single object, at least for now.
Okay.
So then maybe it's not natural. That is another possibility, that these jets are not produced by the sublimation of ice on the surface of a rock, but something else.
Okay.
So the way I think of it is it's exciting, it's interesting. So in the coming weeks, because before it comes close to Earth, it will get closest to Earth on December 19th. And before that, we will be able to observe it a lot with hundreds of telescopes on Earth, also space telescopes. We can then figure it out based on the data that we get. So it's like a detective story.
Right.
That's why it's exciting.
It is exciting.
And then on December 19th, it's just a week before the holidays. Let's hope we will not get any unwanted gifts
exactly
from this object.
Because that's when it's going to be close. Yes.
We're talking about 3i Atlas with my favorite Harvard professor, Avi Loeb. And so what is the deal with NASA? Are they hiding pictures of 3i Atlas because they're scared of what we would possibly think it could be?
I don't think so. It looks to me like it's a big organization where bureaucracy rules the day. And they, for some bureaucratic reason, decided that during the government shutdown, they will not release these photos because they decided that anything to do with 3i Atlas will have to be going through some filtering within the bureaucracy.
That's weird, though. That's where the conspiracy theory in me comes out and says they shut the government down because they know this thing's a UFO.
No, I don't think so. So what really bothers me is the fact that bureaucracy sabotage, takes hold or takes hostage of science. That shouldn't be the case. It should serve science, but instead, what happened is they have the data on some computers. They haven't shared it with the rest of the scientific community. My hope is they will do it in the coming days. It's just unfortunate they did that. It's a lot of time, 45 days that we haven't seen that data, which is the best images that we could have had until now. And it could have helped us plan future observations.
Yes, sir.
We got about 30 seconds left. In your mind, the percentage that you think it's technology?
I would say 30 to 40% still.
Wow.
In the coming weeks, it could go down to close to zero or close to 100%. So we should see what the data shows. I'm not claiming I know the answer. I'm just saying it's work in progress.
But as a scientist, your mind is open to the possibilities.
Oh, yeah, because otherwise we will never learn anything new if we always assume we know the answer.
Professor Loeb,
as a fellow scientist, I have my mind open as well.
I watched a lot of YouTube videos on this.
Yes, I did.
I don't know if that counts the same.
Thank you for joining us.
As a result of 3i Atlas, there are lots of kids who told their parents that they want to become scientists.
Yeah.
And I see that as the biggest reward that I can get.
People got their telescopes out. They're searching the sky.
It's great.
Well, they asked for telescopes for the holidays as a gift, actually.
Wow,
some of them.
Perfect.
So, it's fun. Science can be fun, and
I'm with you.
We will figure it out. If you ask me in a month, I will probably know much more about this subject.
We'll call you back.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Professor Loeb, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being so gracious.
Thanks for having me.
That is Harvard professor of science, Avi Loeb, on the 3i Atlas interstellar object hurtling through our universe. Twice the size of Manhattan.
That's
Gaydos.
what he said. I thought it was 3 miles long.
It's double.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
If it is a UFO and it is 6 miles long and it comes here, where do you land?
I don't have the answer to that.
Where are you going to land?
I have the foggiest idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Arizona's got a lot of wide open spaces. Just saying.
All right.
Just saying.
Where are you going to land?
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.